Jody, this is your Aunt Janice, and guess what time it is? Yes, it's toffee time. Last year you asked for my recipe. Well, I decided to not just send you a recipe, but try to make this little video so you can see the technique that I do. You'll see how simple it is and how wonderful it will taste. Alright, first thing I want to talk about is the equipment, Jody. Gotta have a good stainless steel pan. Now when I say good, this is a 3-quart stainless steel Farberware. I've been using this since Dave and I got married, 51 years, so I can't even count the number of toffee batches it's made, and it still makes delicious toffee. This is one I got a couple of years ago at JCPenney. It's copper, makes great toffee. Number of toffee batches it's made, and it still makes delicious toffee. This is one I got a couple of years ago at JCPenney. It's copper, makes great toffee. Your choice, but do not use a nonstick pan. It just doesn't work. You'll also need 2 baking sheets. I think they call them jelly roll sheets, and they're about 18 by 13. And I'll get into that as we make the toffee. Very important, Jody, to have a good thermometer, and it's not just for candy, but that's what I use it for. It's Taylor. Taylor is great. I've got a couple of them. You can put it in the dishwasher. It's sturdy and it's accurate. I love it. A wooden spoon. Metal spoon makes noise, and I just prefer a wooden spoon. Your call. And maybe a rolling pin. This is a dowel I've had about 30-40 years that Dave made, that I used to make tortillas with. I just use it for my toffee, but a rolling pin works fine. Basically, that's the equipment. Now we'll talk about the ingredients. Okay, Jody, we've talked about equipment. Let's talk about what goes in the toffee to make it wonderful. 3 ingredients, real simple. A pound of butter, 4 cubes, and do not try to use margarine. If you do, I don't even want to know about it. It just won't work. Pound of butter, and I'll send you the written recipe as well, Jody. 2 cups of regular granulated sugar. 1 cup of coarsely chopped almonds. And let me talk about the almonds for just a minute, Jody. I used to buy the regular, just raw almonds from Costco and roasted them in the oven. Then I decided that was just too much work. I buy this. It is 2.5 pounds of dry roasted almonds that I buy at Costco. They're already roasted and they're salted, so no need to add any salt or anything. They're wonderful. Now, the almond is a very hard nut. You'll want to chop it in a food processor. If you try to do it by hand, goodness, you'll be doing it forever. I chop them in two types of coarseness. In my toffee, Jody, you'll see this is pretty big pieces. Probably could be smaller, actually. I might even redo it. And this is what I put in the toffee. And when I do a cup, it's not a level cup, it's a heaping cup. Your call. On top of the toffee is Hershey bars. I put 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. I have tried all kinds of chocolate, semi-sweet, bittersweet. Milk chocolate just works the best. And I'll talk more about that later. I prefer the almonds that are more fine on top of the toffee. I've also tried it this way. It becomes your call. This looks a little fine. Maybe I got a little too fine, but you know what? It'll be delicious. And then we'll get started cooking now, and you can see how all this comes into play. Okay, Jody, let's start the toffee. I've gone ahead and put the butter in the pan, but what's really important that I have found over the years, you'll see the butter is not melted. You'll see the cubes, and as soon as it kind of starts melting, I add the sugar and the nuts. Yes, it'll be real thick, but if you let the butter melt, then you try to add the sugar and the nuts, it takes a long time for it to come together, and sometimes it doesn't because that butter's then has got to be incorporated. So start it all together. I babysit it pretty much from this point until it starts boiling. Once it starts boiling, I put the candy thermometer in, and I'll show you that when it starts boiling. I just wanted you to see that the butter and sugar and almonds are boiling, and it looks almost creamy. Butter is not separated, and that's why I start it all together. Once it starts boiling, I attach my candy thermometer. I kind of turn it down and low. I have an electric stove. Gas is so much easier, but even if you have gas, you'll want to turn it down low now, because what you don't want is for it to scorch. I'll stir it a little bit like this just to get it started. And once I know it's okay and not too hot, excuse me, dear, I can actually just leave it alone, get stuff ready for the chocolate or whatever I'm going to be doing next, and it'll take about 25 minutes. We'll come back when it's almost done. Jody, it's not done yet. This probably is the midway point. We want to go up to a temperature between 290 and 300 degrees. Right now it's about 260, and as you can see, it's getting darker. I don't have to stand here and stir it. I check it occasionally to make sure it's not burning on the bottom, and that it's just a nice gentle boil. And again, I'll come back and we'll finish it when it gets right up between 290 and 300. Okay, Jody, it's done. As you can see, and I'm not sure if you can see the thermometer, but it's about 293 or 4. And again, you want it to be, that's when you got to work quickly. Again, you want it to be 290, between 290 and 3. And as you can see, by the time I take it off at 290, take my thermometer out, put it over there, it's still cooking in this pan. What I did, and you can see the color, and it kind of stirs and stays in one piece. And I just wish you could smell it. What I didn't say, when I make my first batch, Jody, I'll take one of the butter wrappers, or several of them, and put a little butter in it. I don't do it after that because as I keep making it, it's got enough. And again, now we want to work quickly. So here, we pour this beautiful, wonderful smelling toffee. Sometimes it's darker than other times. Sometimes it's lighter. But that's why you want a thermometer. If you didn't use a thermometer and it got real dark brown, maybe it didn't get the right temperature and it's just brown because you had the burner high or something. And then it would be too soft. So temperature is real important. This is the part you want to work quickly. One of the things that I like to use is an offset spatula. You can use a big one. I have several. This particular little offset one belonged to Dave's mother and a Jewel. I have used this all my toffee time practically, and I just kind of have a feeling it makes it a little better because it was hers. Alright, as you can see, it's pretty easy to work with because you do it right away. If you let it sit and get busy doing other things, forget it, because where you put it then it's going to stay. Alright, nice and smooth, and I don't worry about little gaps in it. Alright, now we'll put the chocolate on. Okay, Jody, the toffee has set just a minute or two. You saw me smooth it. And now we're going to put the chocolate. I have taken 3 of the Hershey bars. I'll get you the exact size. It's a regular Hershey bar. I'll just break it up. I have tried this numerous ways. I melt it and put it on first. But the gal that gave me the recipe 30 to 40 years ago, whenever it was, This is how she told me, and even though I've tried it many ways, I come back to this because it's just simple and it works. While I'm waiting for this to set, just a minute, Jody, I put 3 candy bars on the other side. I've also tried this many ways. You'll see me in a minute. I'm going to turn it over. Then I have already melted 3 Hershey bars in my Pyrex so that I can have it ready to put on right away as soon as I turn it over. I have also tried putting the Hershey bars on it like this, but by that time it's not quite as hot, and I might have to stick it under the broiler. I just find this works better. I have also tried doing a whole pot of chocolate, but then I'm kind of tied to finishing that, and if I have chocolate left over, it's not as easy to melt. This is just nice and simple, and I do it as I need it. All right. Now, as you can see, this is, excuse me, Jody, but that's hot. Let me get, the chocolate is nice and melted. So all I'm going to do is spread this evenly, and I'll come back in just a minute and show you how I put the almonds on. Okay, Jody, I'm going to add the almonds on the top, and this, again, is where I like the finer almonds. People always say how much. Your call. I find it's about, a 1.5 cups to 2 cups. I do not skimp on the nuts or the chocolate. If I've got too much on this, I don't worry about it, because when I chop it up, break it up, I recycle it. It just falls into the foil, and I use it on my next batch, and if I have it left over at the end of the year, it can go in cookies, on top of ice cream, or whatever. I then either use my little spatula there, or my hand. Make sure I've got the nuts. This is where I'll use my little dowel and kind of anchor those almonds right in that luscious, wonderful chocolate. Okay, and now we'll get ready to flip it over. Jody, at this point I'm ready to put foil over it and turn it over. I don't use a lot of this long heavy duty, but I buy it. Even if I just use it for toffee, it works great because it's wide. So what I'm going to do is tear off a piece that will cover my toffee, and I put that on the top, kind of turn it over. This is where I use the second same size pan. When I thought of this, when I flipped it over before, my nuts would always scatter, and I thought there's got to be a way. So I let my little right brain work, and this just works good. So you'll see, everybody always has trouble with this. This is real simple. Just flip it over. This year, for the first time in my toffee making, my toffee began to stick, as you can see. I do not know why. I don't care. So I use this to kind of nudge it. So before you flip it over, you might take the spatula and go around the edge and lift it up, Jody. All right, I've got my other chocolate. Now see, this looks like a little too dark toffee. I like it a little lighter, but it will be wonderful. I have yet to have anybody not eat it or say, oh, I'd like it better if it was darker or lighter. As long as you have attained the 290 to 300 degrees, obviously the longer you cook it, the darker it will get. If you cook it too over 300, it will be very hard. If you cook it too short of a time, it's very soft, and that's just not toffee. All right. All right, there's the chocolate. And same on the nuts on this side. I kind of use the foil and again, I don't skimp, Jody, because I know they're going to fall off and I can recycle them. They're not wasted. I had a friend who didn't want to use much chocolate or nuts because she thought it wasn't good for her family. I told her, then just don't make it. I mean, if you're not going to put nuts and chocolate, that's what makes toffee good, with the wonderful roasted almonds. All right, Jody. We've got that done. I'm going to use my little dowel. Putting the foil on it and pressing it down would do the same. I guess creatures of habit. I've done it for almost 30, 40 years. Now, the next foil I like to use is the non-stick. And the reason I do is because I'll tear off a piece, put the non-stick side next to my toffee. I could stop right here, and if you only made one batch, Jody, put it in the fridge just like this. You don't even have to cover it. But I make close to 30 of them at least every year. So I will do like this. Fold it up. I will put it in the fridge overnight or several hours so that it gets hard and I can break it up. And it freezes beautifully. I've got some that I had from last year that's wonderful, and it'll work in the refrigerator for weeks. So we'll put this in the refrigerator and then we'll come on back and we'll break some up. Okay, Jody, toffee's finished. The chocolate is hardened, so let's break it up. This is where as I mentioned, I like to use the non-stick foil. As you can see, I use this on another batch, and you might look right over here on my countertop. I'll probably won't use any more foil than this, so it's not wasteful, because I use it on the next batch. And you can see in this bag here some that I've already broke up. I shake off some of the nuts, and I literally just start breaking it. I keep what I call for years my little reject bowl, and if a piece is too small or the chocolate falls off, it goes in there for Janice and Dave. And Dave over the years knows that there's always a reject bowl. And when I say reject, not because it's not good, it's still delicious, but like right there on that end, I'm sure it would be wonderful and people wouldn't even know the difference. I had a dentist in California, our dentist. He loved the toffee. One year I had really done a lot of toffee and I didn't have time to break his up, so I just gave him a great big piece. He loved it. He was more thrilled with that than if I had broken it up. Made it look very pretty. Okay, Jody. I don't think you need to see me break all of this up, but I wanted you to see from start to finish how to make the toffee. So if you ever want to make it or share this recipe, you go right ahead and have fun making toffee. I want to give full credit to my cameraman, Dave, who's done a great job. You can tell by looking at this, obviously we're not professional, but that doesn't matter. The object was for you to see how to make toffee. And if that comes across, then it's been successful. Thanks, dear. Love you. Have a great day.
And hug the kids.
Yes, and hug little Ansel and Edith and Chad. Love you. Enjoy your new home.